Have you ever thought that just one seemingly normal morning could shatter everything you've worked for, everything you've believed in, and everything you've sacrificed your youth for, all with a single sentence? I never imagined it. That morning, I woke up like any other day, brushed my teeth, sipped my coffee, ironed my shirt the night before. I remember my navy blue tie, the one I always wore for important meetings. I thought it was just another Monday. Little did I know that day would end an entire chapter of my life. At around 9 a.m., I received an email from HR. Please come to the 12th floor meeting room at 10 a.m. HR and the executive director will be present. I was a little surprised but not worried. I thought it might be an internal reshuffle or maybe a new project assignment. I'd been at the company for 5 years. Team leader for 2. I consistently hit my KPIs. I never once thought I'd be let go. 10 o'clock sharp. I stepped into a large, cold, eerily quiet meeting room. Ms. Ha from HR avoided eye contact. Mr. Kwan, the VP, held a file folder face stern. Then he spoke. We regret to inform you that due to restructuring and strategic direction, the company will be terminating your employment effective next week. I was stunned. When you get fired, there's no dramatic music. No slow motion. Just a gut punch to your pride. Everything blurred into a fog. I vaguely remember standing up, nodding, signing the termination papers, and walking out. A young HR intern handed me a small cardboard box to pack my things. I walked past colleagues who once called me captain, leader, motivator. No one dared to look me in the eye. I felt like a ghost. Back home, I set the box on the floor, collapsed onto my chair, and stared into nothingness. I had worked tirelessly for years. I'd skipped vacations, turned down weekend gatherings, thinking if I give just a bit more, they'll notice me. Now all I had was a cardboard box. I opened my laptop and tried to access my company email. Already deactivated. I checked the internal chat group. My name removed. I was no longer part of anything. I turned off my phone for 3 straight days. No one could reach me. My parents called. I didn't pick up. I felt ashamed. I felt like a failure, like a broken product that just got returned. I lived alone, in a small rented apartment paid for by my monthly salary. One night, I woke up at 2 a.m. and cried. Not because I lost the job, but because I felt like I had lost myself. A week later, I forced myself to update my CV. I sent out over 20 applications, no replies. Then 30, then 40. Finally, I got an interview. The recruiter looked at my resume and asked, "Why did you leave your previous job?" I answered honestly, "I was laid off during a company restructuring." The mood in the room changed instantly. I knew I had just been rejected again the moment I said that. It wasn't just the job market that turned cold. My friends slowly faded too. The "let's grab a beer" messages stopped coming. No one knew what to say to someone who's unemployed. I began to doubt myself. I thought, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm truly useless. And so, I began to disappear from life. I slept during the day and stayed awake at night. I scrolled endlessly through my phone, but couldn't remember what I'd even seen. One night, I looked at myself in the mirror. Unshaven, hollow eyes. I barely recognized the person staring back. And I cried. Not out of sadness, but because I had let myself go this far. I asked myself, is this really it? Is this how it all ends? Just because of a layoff? Do the years of hard work mean nothing now? No, I couldn't accept that. Not because I was confident, but because I had nothing left to lose. I stood up. I turned off my phone. I opened a blank Word document, and I started typing. Not another resume, but an idea for something no company would ever hire me to do, but something I would build myself. My own company. I opened a blank Word document, my hands trembling. I didn't even know what I was writing. I just knew I didn't want to be rejected anymore. I couldn't let others define my worth any longer. I typed, if there were a service that tells real stories with raw emotions, would anyone need that? I realized something. There are so many people like me. Unemployed, lost, broken, But no one tells those journeys truthfully. I wanted to try, to tell my story and maybe tell others too, through words. I called it Storycraft, Writing to Heal. I had no capital, no clients, just an old laptop, a Wi-Fi connection, and a heart still aching. I created a Facebook page. I posted my firing story, raw, unfiltered, without trying to sound like a hero. I wrote like I had nothing left to hide. Within one night, the post had 300 shares. Someone commented, "I've been through this too. Thank you for saying what I've never had the courage to." A freelancer messaged me, "Could you help me write about my startup journey? I need it for my personal brand profile." I said yes, not because I needed the money, but because I needed a beginning. I wrote that article over 2 nights, editing endlessly, rereading it 100 times. When the 500,000 VND came in, I cried. Not because of the money, but because, for the first time, I earned something from my own pain, through the one thing I still believed I could do, writing. After just 1 week, the second person messaged me. Then the third. They weren't successful CEOs. They were the forgotten, the rejected, the invisible ones, just like me. And I wrote for them. Not to survive, but to let them know they were worth telling stories about. I taught myself how to build a website using WordPress. Used Canva to design my first logo. Binged every video I could find on content marketing, SEO, writing better headlines. I wasn't tech savvy, but I knew how to tell a story that made people stop and listen. After 3 months, I had 6 steady clients. I started charging per project. I bought a new desk. I invited my mom over and cooked her a proper meal. For the first time, I thought, maybe I don't have to apply for jobs anymore. Maybe I can actually live through writing. It was a rainy afternoon. I was editing an article for an old client when an email popped up with the subject line, "Long-term content partnership, proposal from an overseas agency." I thought it was spam, almost deleted it. But when I opened it, I froze. A media agency from Singapore had come across my writing on LinkedIn and wanted to hire me for a long-term podcast storytelling project, with a fee 8 times what I earned in the beginning. I realized I couldn't handle all the projects on my own. So I started looking for fellow writers, not the best technically, but the most honest. I didn't hire the most skilled. I chose the most real. I posted, "Have you been rejected? Broken? Let's write that and help others heal." Over 40 people applied in 2 days. I brought on my first 2 teammates. We worked online, divided tasks, brainstormed titles, edited line by line. We didn't write to go viral. We wrote so people wouldn't feel alone anymore. Clients didn't just say thank you. They cried. They rewrote their resumes. They restarted the journeys they thought were over. A university invited me to share my story in front of 200 final-year communication students. Couldn't believe it. Just 3 years ago, I was unemployed, lost, doubting myself. Now I stood on a stage, talking about what was once my greatest shame with pride. I didn't hide that I'd been fired. In fact, I made it the first line on my website. I was fired, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Instead of fearing judgment, I shared everything. And that truth made me stand out. From someone no one wanted to hire, I became the one people sought out, to help them tell their own stories with honesty and compassion. I'm not writing this to say I've made it. I'm writing for you,